Hello, history enthusiasts, time travelers, and knowledge seekers. Welcome to another journey back in time here on Backdrop History. Introduction. Stonehenge stands as one of the most enigmatic and iconic prehistoric monuments in the world. Located on the Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire, England, this ancient stone circle continues to captivate historians, archaeologists, and the general public alike. Its origin and purpose have been a subject of intense debate, and countless theories abound. As a professional historian, I will take you on a journey through time to explore the history, construction, significance, and mysteries surrounding Stonehenge, providing insights into the fascinating world of ancient Britain. Chapter 1: Setting the Stage, Prehistoric Britain. The history of Stonehenge, a monument that captivates and confounds us to this day, is inherently intertwined with the history of its environment. To better comprehend this mystifying relic, we must first venture into the epoch of prehistoric Britain, a time when the tenets of human society were being newly constructed and the first vestiges of civilization were appearing. Prehistoric Britain, a period that extends from the arrival of the first humans around 800,000 BC until the Roman invasion in AD 43, can be divided into three major eras: the Paleolithic, or Old Stone Age, the Mesolithic, Middle Stone Age, and the Neolithic, New Stone Age. The Paleolithic era, spanning approximately 800,000 BC to around 10,000 BC, marked the first human habitation of Britain. During this time, Britain was still physically connected to the European mainland, facilitating the migration of early humans who were hunter-gatherers. These Homo heidelbergensis and Homo neanderthalensis were not merely survivors, but innovators, devising basic tools from stone, bone, and wood. These ranged from simple cutting tools to more complex hunting implements such as hand axes. This period was characterized by a succession of glaciations and interglacial periods, which directly influenced human settlement and migration patterns. The Mesolithic era, which lasted from about 10,000 BC to around 400 BC, commenced at the end of the last ice age. The landscape began to take on a more familiar form as forests expanded, the sea level rose, and Britain became an island separate from the continent. The human population increased, and people began to establish more permanent settlements. The technology also advanced, with the introduction of small, microlithic tools and the use of traps and nets for hunting and fishing. However, it was the Neolithic era, beginning around 400 BC and lasting until the advent of the Bronze Age in 2300 BC, that gave birth to a societal revolution. This period was characterized by the adoption of agriculture, which engendered permanent settlements, pottery production, and the construction of monuments. The gradual transition from nomadic hunter-gatherer communities to settled farming societies had profound implications for the socio-cultural, economic, and spiritual aspects of life, laying the groundwork for the construction of monumental structures such as Stonehenge. The landscape of Britain during the Neolithic era was predominantly wooded, interspersed with clearings that were gradually expanding due to the advent of farming. The population, though small by today's standards, was growing and becoming increasingly settled. This was a society on the cusp of a new era, where human impact on the landscape was beginning to make a significant impression. It was against this backdrop that the stage was set for the construction of Stonehenge. While there is evidence of earlier human activity around the site, it was during the Neolithic period that the first phase of this iconic monument was constructed. The evolving landscape, societal norms, and spiritual beliefs of prehistoric Britain would shape the creation and ongoing development of Stonehenge, a testament to the dawn of civilization that continues to echo through the ages. Chapter 2: Early Signs of Settlement, Mesolithic Period. The Mesolithic period in Britain, spanning from roughly 10,000 BC to 4000 BC, represents a period of transition. As the icy grip of the last glacial period gradually receded, Britain underwent significant ecological transformations, which in turn instigated cultural and technological shifts among its human inhabitants. The human communities were characterized by a combination of nomadic hunter-gatherer lifestyles and increasingly settled ways of life, brought about by the warmer climate, abundant natural resources, and evolving technologies. The Stonehenge landscape was no exception to these changes. Archaeological findings in the vicinity reveal that the area around Stonehenge had been frequented by human communities from as early as the Mesolithic period. The most significant among these findings is a series of post holes discovered near the Stonehenge site dating back to around 800 BC. These post holes, found near the modern Stonehenge car park, were arranged in an irregular pattern, suggesting the construction of substantial wooden structures or totem-like markers. The posts themselves, fashioned from the trunks of pine trees, indicate a degree of organization and construction capacity beyond the simplicity of a hunter-gatherer society. The purpose of these structures is unknown, but they may have served as markers for territorial boundaries, meeting points, or seasonal hunting grounds. The discovery of these early post holes is significant as it attests to a consistent human presence in the area even before the monumental undertaking that was to become Stonehenge. Additionally, stone tools and debris unearthed in the surrounding area provide an invaluable insight into the lives of these early inhabitants. From these remnants, we can discern a society that was skilled in making microliths, small, sharp stone tools used in hunting and fishing. Although the exact population size is difficult to estimate, the landscape during the Mesolithic period was likely sparsely populated. Groups were probably small, mobile, and scattered, exploiting the rich forest environment teeming with game and plant resources. The rivers, such as the nearby Avon, provided an essential source of freshwater and a variety of aquatic resources. Additionally, these waterways served as critical transport and communication routes, connecting various communities within the landscape. Despite their semi-nomadic lifestyle, the Mesolithic communities started to make a significant impact on the landscape. Controlled burning of woodland to manage and manipulate the environment for hunting indicates a deep understanding of the ecosystem, hinting at the nascent stages of environmental engineering. The Mesolithic era was, therefore, a crucial time in prehistoric Britain, and particularly in the Stonehenge landscape. It was a period of transition, from transient hunter-gatherers to a more settled existence. The early signs of settlement around Stonehenge, as evidenced by the post holes, indicate a lasting bond between the people and the land. These early settlers were the precursors to the communities that would, in the subsequent Neolithic period, embark on one of the most extraordinary architectural feats in human history, the construction of Stonehenge. Chapter 3: The Dawn of Monument Building, Neolithic Revolution. The Neolithic Revolution, a term first coined by the Australian archaeologist V. Gordon Childe, is a defining period in human history that transformed society at a pace unparalleled until the advent of the Industrial Revolution. This epoch, spanning from approximately 4000 BC to 2300 BC in Britain, was a time when humans first took control of their environment in a systematic manner. The onset of agriculture, the domestication of animals, and the development of more permanent settlements laid the foundations for a societal shift that ultimately enabled the rise of complex civilizations. In the British context, the transition to the Neolithic period was not an abrupt event but a gradual process that unfolded over centuries. The first farmers, likely immigrants from the continent, brought with them not just new subsistence strategies, but also new technologies, ideologies, and social structures. The shift from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to farming facilitated a greater permanence in settlement, ultimately leading to population growth and an increasing complexity in social structures. Against this backdrop of change, the monumental architecture of the Neolithic era began to grace the British landscape. The shift towards a more sedentary lifestyle and the emergence of communal identities are thought to have spurred this trend. The monumental structures, ranging from long barrows to henges, served as communal focal points, reinforcing a sense of shared identity and purpose. They also reflected the increasing social stratification and the emergence of individuals or groups with the power to mobilize communal resources. In the Stonehenge landscape, the first phase of construction began around 3000 BC. This initial phase of development was modest compared to the monumental stone structures that would later define the site. It comprised a circular earth bank and ditch, with a diameter of about 100 meters. Inside this henge, 56 pits, now known as the Aubrey holes after the 17th century antiquarian John Aubrey, were dug. These holes, though they later held cremated human remains, were probably initially designed to hold timber posts. It's important to note that while Stonehenge is today the most famous monument in the area, it was not constructed in isolation. It was part of a broader tradition of monument building that swept across Neolithic Britain. For example, long barrows, which are collective tombs, emerged as a common architectural feature during the early Neolithic period. An excellent example of this is the West Kennet Long Barrow near Avebury, which was used for several generations. In the vicinity of Stonehenge itself, similar monument building activities were ongoing. About 2 miles northeast of Stonehenge is the site of Robin Hood's Ball, another henge monument, while further north lies Dangton Walls, one of Britain's largest henge monuments, believed to have been constructed around the same time as Stonehenge. Chapter 4: Construction and Configuration, Stonehenge's Early Days. As we delve into the early stages of Stonehenge's construction, we are stepping back over 5 millennia into Britain's prehistoric past, to a time of monumental change when the course of human culture was being redrawn. The earliest phase of Stonehenge, dating to around 3000 BC, began with the creation of a circular earthwork enclosure, comprising a bank and a ditch. This circular henge, with a diameter of approximately 100 meters, was a significant engineering feat requiring considerable effort and manpower. It represents one of the earliest instances of landscape transformation in Britain on such a scale. The formation of the bank and ditch would have required the use of rudimentary tools such as antler picks and bone shovels, alongside human strength and determination. The ditch, which is about 6 meters wide and 1.5 meters deep, was dug first, with the chalk that was excavated being used to form the bank. The earthworks encircled an area of leveled chalk, creating a space that was distinct from the outside world, perhaps serving ritualistic or ceremonial purposes. Inside this henge, 56 pits, now referred to as the Aubrey holes, were dug. The Aubrey holes, named after John Aubrey, who first identified them in the 17th century, form a circle within the earthwork enclosure. Although they were found to contain cremated human remains in the late Neolithic period, they are believed to have originally held timber posts. These posts might have had a functional role, perhaps supporting a structure, or they may have had a ceremonial or symbolic purpose. In addition to the henge and the Aubrey holes, several large sarsen and bluestone megaliths were erected in this initial phase. The most notable of these is the heel stone, a large unworked sarsen stone located outside the northeastern entrance to the henge. The heel stone has a unique significance during the summer solstice, where from the center of the stone circle, it aligns with the rising sun. Another significant early feature is the so-called slaughter stone, a large sarsen stone positioned within the entrance to the henge. Its ominous name derives from the reddish water that collects in its depressions, initially thought to be the blood of sacrificial victims. However, the name is misleading, as the reddish hue is due to iron in the water, and there's no archaeological evidence to suggest that the stone was used for sacrifices. The positioning of these stones was likely not arbitrary. Many researchers believe they were deliberately aligned to specific celestial events, perhaps serving as an early form of astronomical observatory. This idea, however, remains the subject of ongoing debate among archaeologists and astronomers. Chapter 5: From Wood to Stone: The Evolution of Stonehenge. As we traverse the course of Stonehenge's evolution, a crucial juncture arrives around 2500 BC, when the monument underwent significant structural changes, heralding a new era of monumentality and engineering prowess. The most notable of these changes was the transition from timber to stone, a shift that has left an enduring mark on the landscape and our collective imagination. The stones used in the construction of Stonehenge can be broadly divided into two categories based on their type and origin: the larger sarsens and the smaller bluestones. The transformation of Stonehenge into a stone monument predominantly involved these two types of stones. The sarsen stones, a type of hard, silcrete sandstone, form the most visually striking features of Stonehenge. These enormous megaliths, some of which rise over 7 meters above the ground and weigh over 20 tons, were sourced locally. The Marlborough Downs, about 20 miles north of Stonehenge, is thought to have been the primary quarry site for these stones. However, the sheer size and weight of the sarsens make their transportation an astonishing feat of prehistoric engineering. The smaller bluestones, on the other hand, come from much farther afield. These stones, which include various types of dolerite, rhyolite, and other volcanic rocks, originate from the Preseli Hills in modern-day Pembrokeshire, Wales, over 150 miles away from Stonehenge. How these stones, some weighing up to 4 tons, were transported across such a distance remains one of the enduring mysteries of Stonehenge. Theories range from human effort, using sledges and waterways, to glacial transport during the last ice age. The erection of these stones required meticulous planning and considerable manpower. The stones were likely maneuvered into place using a combination of ramps, pits, and levers, then carefully aligned and shaped using stone hammers and other rudimentary tools. The creation of the iconic trilithons, each consisting of 2 upright sarsens capped by a horizontal lintel, showcases the sophisticated understanding of the builders in terms of weight distribution and stability. The sarsen circle and trilithons constitute the outer ring of Stonehenge, while the bluestones, originally set up between the sarsen circle and horseshoe, have been rearranged multiple times throughout the monument's history, reflecting the continual remodeling of the site. The shift from timber to stone had profound implications. Stone, unlike timber, does not decay, and its permanence must have imbued the monument with a new sense of timelessness and durability. Moreover, the scale of effort involved in sourcing, transporting, and erecting these stones signifies a society capable of organizing large-scale communal efforts, likely under a potent leadership. Chapter 6: Alignments and Astronomical Correlations. One of the most fascinating aspects of Stonehenge that has captured the imagination of scholars, archaeologists, and the public alike is its relationship with the heavens. The monument's alignment and the astronomical correlations that it presents suggest that the builders of Stonehenge possessed a remarkable understanding of celestial movements, and that this knowledge was intricately woven into the monument's design and purpose. The most obvious and significant astronomical alignment at Stonehenge involves the summer solstice. The heel stone, a solitary sarsen stone located outside the northeastern entrance to the henge, aligns with the rising sun on the summer solstice when viewed from the center of the stone circle. This alignment, which produces a spectacular visual effect as the sun seems to rise above the heelstone, suggests a deliberate intent to mark this key event in the solar year. Similarly, the setting sun on the winter solstice aligns with the axis going from the center of the monument through the southwestern entrance. Observers standing within the stone circle looking towards the gap in the Sarsen Trilithon horseshoe would see the sun set in the middle of the gap, creating a striking tableau. These alignments seem to go beyond mere coincidence, implying that the solstices held significant cultural or religious importance for the Neolithic people. The astronomical significance of Stonehenge extends beyond solstitial alignments. Some researchers, such as Alexander Thom and Gerald Hawkins, have proposed more complex astronomical correlations. They suggest that the monument could have functioned as an elaborate calendar system, capable of predicting eclipses and other celestial events. The 56 Aubrey holes, according to their theories, might have been used to track the movements of the moon, forming a sort of early computer for lunar eclipses. However, these theories have been met with skepticism by many archaeologists, who caution against reading too much into these alignments. They argue that the alignments could be incidental, a product of cultural or aesthetic choices rather than precise astronomical knowledge. Moreover, they point out that while the Neolithic people likely had a keen understanding of the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars, this does not necessarily mean that Stonehenge functioned as an astronomical observatory in the modern sense of the term. Regardless of the exact nature and extent of its astronomical significance, there's little doubt that the skies held immense importance for the Neolithic builders of Stonehenge. Whether tracking the changing seasons, providing a framework for religious rituals, or marking the passage of time, the celestial bodies would have formed an integral part of their worldview. Stonehenge, with its intricate alignments and monumental scale, stands as a testament to this ancient fascination with the cosmos. Chapter 7: Life, Death, and Rituals. Stonehenge's spiritual significance. Stonehenge's austere grandeur and its intricate relationship with the heavens have long suggested a site of immense spiritual significance for its builders. Archaeological findings have substantiated this presumption, revealing Stonehenge as a complex ceremonial landscape, entwined with rituals of life, death, and the veneration of ancestors. One of the earliest evidences of Stonehenge's spiritual significance comes from the cremated human remains found in and around the monument. The Aubrey holes, initially thought to have held timber posts, were later used as repositories for cremation burials. These cremation deposits, which date from around 3000 BC to 2300 BC, make Stonehenge one of the largest late Neolithic burial sites in Britain. The people interred at Stonehenge were not ordinary individuals. The effort involved in cremation and the location of the burial site suggest that these were high-status individuals, perhaps community leaders or important religious figures. Artifacts unearthed at Stonehenge further corroborate its ceremonial function. Many of these, including stone mauls, antler picks, and fragments of pottery, are believed to be associated with the construction and use of the site. However, other finds, such as the finely crafted bush barrow lozenge, a decorative gold object found in a burial mound near Stonehenge, and a plethora of animal bones, primarily of pigs, suggest feasting and other ritualistic activities. To fully grasp the spiritual significance of Stonehenge, one must also consider the wider sacred landscape in which it is situated. A few miles northeast of Stonehenge is Dangton Walls, one of Britain's largest henge monuments. Excavations at Dangton Walls have uncovered evidence of substantial settlements, including several circular timber structures, one of which is aligned with the winter solstice. Significantly, huge quantities of animal bones, predominantly pigs, were found at the site, indicating communal feasts. Dangton Walls is connected to Stonehenge via the River Avon and an ancient processional route known as the Avenue. This connection, along with the solstitial alignment of the timber circle at Dayington Walls and Stonehenge, suggest a ritual landscape wherein the living, at Dayington Walls, and the dead, at Stonehenge, were symbolically linked. One plausible theory is that the River Avon served as a spiritual conduit between the two sites, with the journey from Dayington Walls to Stonehenge via the river representing a symbolic transition from life to death. This journey would have been imbued with spiritual significance, a final voyage guiding the souls of the departed to their ancestral realm. Consequently, Stonehenge emerges not just as an isolated monument but as the focal point of a wider sacred landscape, intricately designed to mediate between the living and the dead, the earth and the heavens. The rituals that took place at Stonehenge and its surrounding landscape were not isolated acts. They were integral parts of a deeply spiritual worldview, in which the ancestors, the celestial bodies, and the natural world were intimately interconnected. Chapter 8: The Arrival of the Beaker People, a Cultural Shift. The historical narrative of Stonehenge enters a new phase around 2300 BC, with the arrival of a new cultural group often referred to as the Beaker People because of their characteristic bell-shaped pottery vessels. This transition, known as the Beaker phenomenon, represents a significant cultural shift in Britain and has important implications for the final stages of Stonehenge's construction and use. The Beaker people are believed to have originated from the continent, possibly from areas that are now the Netherlands or Central Europe. They arrived in Britain carrying with them a distinct material culture, characterized by the Beaker pottery, metal objects, archery equipment, and a different style of burial practice. Unlike the communal burials that characterized the Neolithic, the Beaker people favored individual burials, often with grave goods that suggested a more individualistic and perhaps increasingly stratified society. The arrival of the Beaker people corresponds with the last known constructions at Stonehenge. Around 2280 BC, the bluestones were rearranged to form a circle and an inner oval. This period also saw the construction of the Y and Z holes, two concentric circles of pits outside the Sarsen circle, although it remains uncertain whether these holes ever held stones. Intriguingly, this phase of construction at Stonehenge appears to coincide with a decrease in the site's usage for burial purposes. While it's uncertain why the Beaker people didn't use Stonehenge as a burial ground as extensively as the previous inhabitants, the shift in burial practices may offer a clue. The more individualistic Beaker culture, with its emphasis on single burials, may have viewed the communal nature of Stonehenge as incompatible with their own traditions. One of the most significant pieces of evidence linking the Beaker people to Stonehenge comes from the so-called Amesbury Archer, a rich Beaker period grave discovered in 2002 near Stonehenge. The grave contained the remains of an adult male, along with an array of grave goods including Beaker pottery, archery equipment, copper knives, and gold ornaments, the richest array of items from this period ever found in Britain. Isotope analysis of the man's teeth suggests he originated from a colder climate, possibly the alpine regions of Central Europe. This man, who lived at the time of the final changes at Stonehenge, offers a tantalizing glimpse into the people who may have been involved in the monument's final stages of construction and use. Chapter 9: Stonehenge in the Bronze Age and Beyond. As we move into the Bronze Age, which in Britain started around 2100 BC, Stonehenge's active role in the region's cultural life begins to change, eventually leading to the monument's gradual abandonment. The Bronze Age introduced new technologies and social structures to Britain. Bronze, the namesake of this period, a metal alloy of copper and tin, became widely used for tools, weapons, and decorative items, representing a significant leap in material culture. With this progression, there's a shift in the archaeological record. Individual round barrows become more common, supplanting the earlier practice of communal burials. This further emphasizes the increasing stratification and individualism within society. Stonehenge during the early Bronze Age seems to have continued its function as a site of ceremonial significance, although burials within the monument itself became less frequent. Surrounding the site, however, the landscape began to fill with round barrows, many containing rich grave goods of beakers, bronze daggers, and golden ornaments. These so-called beaker burials suggest the presence of a high-status social elite, a warrior or leader class, reflecting the societal shifts of the period. By the Middle to Late Bronze Age, there's a noticeable decrease in activity at Stonehenge. Few new structures are added, and it appears the monument fell into a state of disrepair. The reasons for this decline remain a matter of speculation. One possibility is the changing cultural and religious practices. As society evolved, the rites and rituals associated with Stonehenge might have lost their relevance. Alternatively, changes in the climate, leading to wetter and colder conditions, may have made the Salisbury Plain less attractive for settlement, thereby reducing the monument's communal importance. Despite the decline in active use, Stonehenge never completely disappeared from cultural memory. Throughout the centuries, it's likely the monument remained a focal point in the landscape, a silent testament to the ancestors and their forgotten rituals. Over the millennia, its stones have weathered many storms and witnessed the ebb and flow of civilizations. Roman artifacts found at the site suggest that Stonehenge retained some degree of significance into the Roman period, although the nature of its use during this time is unclear. After the Romans, the site seems to have been largely forgotten, only re-emerging into the light of history with the arrival of the Normans, who documented its existence. Chapter 10: Rediscovering Stonehenge Antiquarians and Archaeologists. In this final chapter, we traverse the path of Stonehenge's rediscovery and ongoing interpretation. The monument's journey from an enigmatic ruin to an archaeological treasure trove has been shaped by centuries of curiosity, conjecture, and systematic study. In the Middle Ages, Stonehenge was as much a mystery as it is today. Geoffrey of Monmouth, a 12th century chronicler, famously claimed in his History of the Kings of Britain that the monument was constructed by the wizard Merlin, who magically transported stones from Ireland to mark the burial place of slain British nobles. While Geoffrey's account has been discredited, it reflects the sense of awe and mystery that surrounded Stonehenge in the medieval period. The serious study of Stonehenge began in the 17th century, with the advent of antiquarianism. This period of enlightenment encouraged a renewed interest in the past, leading to the first scientific investigations of the site. Notable among these early antiquarians was John Aubrey, who in the 1660s made detailed plans of the site and discovered the ring of pits around the monument's periphery, now known as the Aubrey Holes. In the centuries that followed, antiquarian interest in Stonehenge continued to grow, yielding a plethora of theories about its origin and purpose. Some suggested it was a Roman temple, others believed it to be a Druidic center of worship, and some even maintained that it was constructed by the ancient Phoenicians. It wasn't until the 20th century, with the development of modern archaeology, that these theories began to give way to more evidence-based interpretations. The advent of carbon dating, aerial photography, and geophysical survey techniques transformed our understanding of Stonehenge, placing it firmly within the Neolithic and Bronze Age periods. Pioneering figures such as William Hawley, who conducted the first systematic excavations in the 1920s, Richard Atkinson, whose mid-20th century work did much to publicize the monument, and more recently Mike Parker Pearson, whose research into the wider Stonehenge landscape has revolutionized our understanding of the monument, have all contributed to our growing knowledge of this ancient site. Archaeologists have now established that Stonehenge was constructed and used over a period of more than 1,000 years, with its primary functions being a site of burial, a place of ceremonial gathering, and perhaps a form of astronomical observatory. Yet despite these advances, much about Stonehenge remains enigmatic. The exact methods of its construction, the full extent of its celestial alignments, and the specific rituals performed there are all subjects of ongoing research and debate. Chapter 11: Modern Explorations and Discoveries. Our journey into Stonehenge's past concludes with a review of the cutting-edge archaeological explorations of the 20th and 21st centuries. In this era of advanced technologies and refined methodologies, we have gained new insights and perspectives into the enduring mystery of Stonehenge. In the 20th century, scientific archaeology started to replace antiquarian speculations with evidence-based conclusions. The extensive excavation led by William Hawley from 1919 to 1926 marked a significant step forward, providing invaluable data on the monument's structure and chronology. Despite the considerable advancement, full appreciation of the Stonehenge landscape's complexity only began to emerge towards the end of the century, primarily through non-invasive geophysical surveys and aerial photography. A turning point in the understanding of Stonehenge was the initiation of the Stonehenge Riverside Project in 2003. Led by archaeologists from several universities, including Mike Parker Pearson of University College London, this project employed a range of technologies like ground-penetrating radar and magnetometry to uncover an array of previously unknown features around Stonehenge. These included the timber circle at Dayington Walls, which suggested a complementary relationship between the two sites, reinforcing the theory of Stonehenge's role in death rituals and the afterlife. In the 21st century, we have witnessed further advances in archaeological technology, which have enabled deeper explorations into Stonehenge's past. LiDAR, light detection and ranging technology, for instance, has proven invaluable in revealing subtle changes in the landscape that are otherwise invisible to the naked eye. Using laser light from an airborne platform, LiDAR has helped identify ancient processional ways, barrows, and other features in the Stonehenge landscape. Radiocarbon dating, a method not available to Hawley in the 1920s, has now given us a much clearer picture of the chronology of Stonehenge. This technique, coupled with the Bayesian statistical analysis, has resulted in a more refined timeline, pinpointing the various stages of construction and use within a few centuries. The application of DNA analysis to human remains found in the area has also offered fascinating insights. For example, a study published in 2018 revealed that the individuals buried at the nearby Amesbury Archer site, who lived at the time of Stonehenge's major construction phases, had ancestral connections to continental Europe. This underlined the far-reaching networks and significant migration in the Neolithic and Bronze Age. Finally, the application of isotope analysis has provided an understanding of the origin of the stones and the people connected to the site. It has even helped track the likely source of the smaller bluestones to specific areas in the Preseli Hills in Wales, illuminating the remarkable effort our ancestors undertook to transport them. In recent years, advances in digital modeling and virtual reality have also given us the ability to experience Stonehenge in new ways, recreating how it would have looked and sounded at different periods of its history. Chapter 12: Stonehenge Today, Cultural and Heritage Significance. In this concluding chapter, we turn our attention from the past to the present. Today, Stonehenge stands as a proud emblem of human ingenuity and resilience. Its lofty stones, aged by millennia, serve as a testament to a time long past, echoing the chants of ancient rituals and whispering tales of prehistoric feats. Since 1986, Stonehenge, together with the associated monument complex around Avebury, has been recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a designation that acknowledges its outstanding universal value. Stonehenge's inclusion in this select list underlines its significant cultural, historical, and scientific importance. It is revered not only as a marvel of ancient engineering but also as a monumental tribute to the Neolithic and Bronze Age societies that painstakingly created it. Stonehenge's cultural resonance extends far beyond its historical and archaeological significance. As a symbol of ancient wisdom and spiritual reverence, it continues to captivate the modern imagination. Thousands of visitors flock to the site each year, drawn by the mystery that shrouds its weather-beaten stones. For many, Stonehenge is more than an ancient monument. It is a place of cultural pilgrimage, a potent symbol of human potential, a touchstone to an era where the rhythms of nature dictated the cadence of life. In recent years, Stonehenge has also reclaimed its role as a spiritual and ceremonial site. The monument's celestial alignments, particularly its orientation towards the midsummer sunrise, have attracted the attention of various contemporary pagan and Druid groups. Permission has been granted for the celebration of the summer and winter solstices at the site, marking a revival of rituals not practiced for thousands of years. The management and conservation of Stonehenge, however, present a complex challenge. Balancing the monument's cultural significance, visitor access, and its preservation requires a nuanced approach. Stonehenge is managed by English Heritage, which implements strict measures to ensure its long-term preservation. In 1978, given the monument's increasing popularity and the associated risk of erosion, general access to the stones was restricted. Today, most visitors can explore the site from a roped pathway, which allows them to appreciate the monument in its wider landscape context without causing damage. However, recognizing the profound experience of being within the stone circle, English Heritage has also established a stone circle access scheme. This initiative allows limited pre-booked visits during dawn or dusk outside regular opening hours, offering visitors a unique, intimate experience with the ancient stones while minimizing wear and tear on the site. Alongside managing visitor access, active conservation work is a crucial part of Stonehenge's modern story. This includes routine monitoring of the stones for erosion or structural issues, maintenance of the surrounding landscape, and more significant interventions when necessary, such as the re-erection of fallen stones. The conservation effort extends to the wider landscape, too. The A303 road, which currently cuts through the Stonehenge World Heritage Site, has been a subject of heated debate, with proposals for a tunnel to remove the intrusive traffic from the immediate vicinity of the monument. Such initiatives underscore the continuous struggle to reconcile the needs of the present with the reverence for the past. More information and facts. Part 1: Personal Narratives Through the Eyes of Stonehenge's Admirers. The many layers of Stonehenge's rich history are not solely confined within the pages of academic dissertations or excavated artifacts. They are also interwoven into the personal narratives of those who have engaged with it. Spanning across the centuries, these individual accounts provide an intimate window into the site's long-lasting influence on human imagination, offering an invaluable perspective that complements archaeological and historical analyses. In the 17th and 18th centuries, when the antiquarian interest in Britain's past was taking shape, Stonehenge's peculiar appeal was reflected in the writings of noted scholars. John Aubrey, an English antiquary, visited the site several times in the 1660s and 1670s. In his manuscript, Templa Druidum, he described Stonehenge with an artist's precision and a detective's intrigue, marking the position of every stone and musing about its origin. His accounts serve as one of the earliest detailed studies of the monument. In the 18th century, William Stukeley, another antiquarian, carried the baton forward. Stukeley spent a considerable part of his life studying Stonehenge and its landscape, publishing Stonehenge, a temple restored to the British Druids in 1740. His writings, while sometimes misled by his romantic affinity for the Druids, provide a wealth of information and highlight his enduring fascination with the monument. The 19th and early 20th centuries brought a more scientific approach to Stonehenge, as seen in the work of archaeologists such as William Gowland and Richard Atkinson. Their field notes, diaries, and publications provide first-hand accounts of archaeological exploration at the time, capturing the thrill of discovery and the meticulous efforts to understand the monument's secrets. Beyond scholarly accounts, the testimonies of local inhabitants offer a unique perspective. These narratives, often passed down generations, are steeped in folklore and a deep sense of belonging. Stories of the Devil's Dance Floor and Friar's Heel, reflecting a mix of Christian and pagan influences, speak of a vibrant oral tradition surrounding Stonehenge. Personal narratives also extend to visitors from around the globe. For many, their accounts of visiting Stonehenge are laced with awe and wonder. In the writings of Thomas Hardy, the famous English novelist, Stonehenge is depicted as an ethereal place, its stones bathed in the soft moonlight, serving as the tragic backdrop to Tess Durbeyfield's fate in the Tess of the D'Urberville. In the present day, tourists' narratives often reflect a profound connection with the ancient past. Some recount a feeling of insignificance standing in the shadow of the mighty Sarsens, while others speak of a surge of inspiration, contemplating the remarkable capabilities of our ancestors. Amid the digital flurry of our modern world, Stonehenge continues to evoke a sense of mystery and transcendence. More recently, personal accounts from neo-Druids and pagans have come to the fore. They view Stonehenge as a sacred site, a thin place where the boundary between the physical and the spiritual world blurs. For them, the annual gatherings during the solstices are deeply spiritual occasions, filled with ritualistic celebrations that bind them to an ancient, nature-centered spirituality. Part 2: Artistic Representations, the Many Faces of Stonehenge. Stonehenge, with its colossal stone structures and enigmatic presence, has captured the artistic imagination for centuries, serving as a muse across a broad spectrum of creative expressions. Paintings, literature, music, films, and in recent years, digital media have offered varied and evocative portrayals of the monument, each reflecting the cultural attitudes, artistic trends, and intellectual concerns of their respective times. The visual arts have long been fascinated with Stonehenge's rugged grandeur. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the Romantic era's predilection for the sublime and the mysterious found a ready subject in Stonehenge. Artists such as J.M.W. Turner and John Constable painted the monument, often emphasizing its scale and antiquity against stormy skies or the gentle gradients of sunset, thereby imbuing the site with an aura of timelessness and ethereal beauty. In literature, Stonehenge has been equally celebrated, its enduring mystery providing fertile ground for exploration. From Geoffrey of Monmouth's History of the Kings of Britain in the 12th century, which associates Stonehenge with the legendary wizard Merlin, to Thomas Hardy's Tess of the D'Urberville, where the monument becomes a stage for the novel's tragic climax, Stonehenge's literary representation varies as widely as the imaginations of the authors who invoke it. More contemporary examples include Bernard Cornwell's Stonehenge, where the monument's construction is imaginatively retold, and Stonehenge Decoded by Gerald S. Hawkins, where the site's potential astronomical alignments are explored in narrative form. Musical interpretations of Stonehenge, too, offer unique insights into its cultural resonance. The most famous of these is probably the satirical Stonehenge sequence in the 1984 film This Is Spinal Tap, which lampoons the monument's mystical image. More earnestly, British rock band Spinal Tap's 1984 song Stonehenge sought to capture the monument's eerie appeal in a progressive rock framework. Other examples span genres from classical compositions to heavy metal, each echoing Stonehenge's enigmatic allure in their own way. In film and television, Stonehenge has often been cast as a symbol of ancient wisdom or supernatural power. The monument has served as a backdrop for dramatic events in films like King Arthur, 2004, and Transformers: The Last Knight, 2017, where it is depicted as a conduit for mystical or alien energies. Television series such as Doctor Who have also incorporated Stonehenge into storylines, enhancing the site's otherworldly reputation. In the digital age, Stonehenge has become a popular subject in video games, virtual reality tours, and digital art, providing interactive experiences that bridge the past and the present. From its representation as a world wonder in the Civilization game series to the detailed 3D renditions in apps and virtual tours, these digital iterations allow users to explore the monument in ways previously impossible. Part 3: Theoretical Debates Contemplating the Enigma of Stonehenge. Among the countless archaeological mysteries worldwide, few have elicited as much debate, conjecture, and controversy as Stonehenge. Its remote antiquity, immense scale, and remarkable design, coupled with scanty direct evidence about its builders' intentions, have spurred a multitude of theories over centuries. The lack of definitive answers has fueled a fascinating discourse within the academic community, an intellectual drama of sorts that has served to enrich our understanding of the monument. One of the most enduring debates revolves around the monument's purpose. Early antiquarians, like John Aubrey and William Stukeley, gravitated towards a druidic connection, associating Stonehenge with Celtic high priests. However, later scholarship, armed with more precise dating techniques, refuted this theory, pushing the monument's origin to a period far before the arrival of the Celts in Britain. A popular theory that gained traction in the 20th century proposes Stonehenge as an astronomical observatory or calendar. Archaeoastronomers like Gerald Hawkins suggested that the monument, through its alignment with the solstices and possibly other celestial events, functioned as a kind of Neolithic computer. Critics of this theory, however, point out that the alignments could be coincidental and argue that Stonehenge's astronomical significance might be overstated. Another widely accepted perspective sees Stonehenge primarily as a sacred site, associated with the rituals of life, death, and ancestor worship. This theory finds support in the preponderance of burial mounds and cremated remains in and around the site. Yet, while few would dispute Stonehenge's ritualistic aspect, the specifics of these practices and their relation to the monument's architectural complexity are far from settled. In recent years, the idea of Stonehenge as a place of healing has emerged. This theory, proposed by archaeologists Geoffrey Wainwright and Timothy Darville, suggests that people traveled to Stonehenge because they believed in the healing properties of its stones, particularly the blue stones. Critics, however, note that the evidence for this theory, such as the skeletal remains showing signs of illness and trauma, is circumstantial and not unique to Stonehenge. Debates around Stonehenge's construction methods are equally contentious. The transportation of the massive sarcens and the smaller bluestones from miles away is an engineering puzzle that has led to numerous theories. While some suggest sledges, rollers, or rafts, others propose that glaciers, not humans, transported the bluestones. Meanwhile, the monument's intricate architectural features, like the mortise and tenon joints, have sparked speculation about the builder's technical knowledge and tools. Finally, there are debates concerning the origin of Stonehenge's builders and the cultural transitions during its construction period. Theories range from local development to migration or invasion. Recent DNA studies suggesting a significant population turnover around the time of Stonehenge's major transformations have added another layer to this discussion. Part 4: Comparative Studies: Stonehenge in the Broader Neolithic Context. To comprehend Stonehenge more fully, we must step outside its immediate landscape and place it in the wider context of Neolithic monumental architecture. In Britain, Europe, and even as far as the eastern Mediterranean, communities were erecting imposing structures during the same period, each serving their unique socio-cultural purposes. Comparing Stonehenge with these other sites can illuminate shared patterns of thought and behavior, underlying cultural connections, and distinctive regional adaptations. Within Britain, Stonehenge is part of a rich tapestry of Neolithic monuments. The nearby Avebury Henge, larger but less architecturally sophisticated, shares many features with Stonehenge, such as the circular layout, the emphasis on large sarsen stones, and the probable ceremonial function. The two sites' proximity and similarities suggest a shared cultural tradition, perhaps even a degree of rivalry or coordination. Beyond Avebury, Britain is dotted with numerous passage tombs, such as Newgrange in Ireland and Maeshowe in Orkney. Like Stonehenge, these structures reveal a keen interest in celestial phenomena. Both Newgrange and Maeshowe are precisely aligned to capture the sun's rays during the winter solstice. While these passage tombs lack Stonehenge's architectural complexity, their focus on aligning architecture with celestial events underlines a shared cosmological outlook across these disparate communities. Across the Channel, on the continent, the Carnac stones in Brittany, France, stand as another monumental feat of Neolithic engineering. Comprising alignments, dolmens, and single menhirs, Carnac is one of the most extensive megalithic complexes in the world. While the precise purpose of these stones remains obscure, like Stonehenge, they signify the investment of significant communal effort in monument construction, likely for ritualistic purposes. Further afield, the megalithic temples of Malta, predating Stonehenge by over a millennium, reveal the antiquity of monument building in the Mediterranean. These temples, featuring elaborate interior spaces, emphasize a different architectural aesthetic from Stonehenge's open-air configuration, but, like Stonehenge, they indicate the existence of complex societal structures capable of organizing large-scale construction efforts. Lastly, we turn to the eastern Mediterranean, where the recently discovered site of Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey has upended traditional narratives about the Neolithic Revolution. Dating back to around 9600 to 7300 BC, this site, with its monumental T-shaped pillars arranged in circular enclosures, predates Stonehenge by over 6,000 years and even predates the advent of agriculture. While the two sites are vastly separated in time and space, Göbekli Tepe, like Stonehenge, reflects an early and profound human impulse to create monumental architecture for presumably ritualistic purposes. Part 5: Influence on Modern Structures, Stonehenge's Legacy in Contemporary Architecture. Although Stonehenge was constructed over 4,000 years ago, its monumental presence continues to resonate with contemporary architects and designers. The site's mystery, history, and unique construction techniques serve as a source of inspiration, reflected in a variety of modern structures. Whether it is the conscious integration of celestial alignment, the embrace of monolithic forms, or the creation of structures for public commemoration and gathering, the echo of Stonehenge reverberates in contemporary architectural landscape. The incorporation of celestial alignments in modern architecture can be traced back to the Neolithic focus on astronomy at Stonehenge. An excellent example is the Jantar Mantar in Jaipur, India, an early 18th century astronomical observatory. Its large-scale masonry instruments for measuring time and predicting astronomical events reflect the same merging of practical design and cosmic order evident at Stonehenge. In a more contemporary context, American architect Charles Ross has spent decades building Star Axis, a naked-eye observatory in New Mexico, directly inspired by ancient monumental structures like Stonehenge. Its various components align with celestial phenomena, enabling visitors to perceive the motion of the Earth in relation to the cosmos. In terms of form and aesthetics, Stonehenge's iconic trilithons have inspired many modernist and brutalist architects who favor monumental, raw, and honest structures. For example, Le Corbusier's use of béton brut, raw concrete, in buildings such as Unite D Habitation, can be seen as an echo of the rugged sarsen stones of Stonehenge. The monolithic, cyclopean architecture of Stonehenge is reflected in structures like the Salk Institute by Louis Kahn, where two symmetric buildings frame a central water feature, leading the eye towards the horizon, invoking a sense of grandeur and timelessness reminiscent of Stonehenge's central axis. Furthermore, Stonehenge's function as a public gathering place and memorial continues to find parallels in contemporary monumental architecture. A clear modern analog is the National Mall in Washington, D.C., with its array of monuments and memorials along a grand axis, serving as a place of commemoration, celebration, and protest. Similarly, the 9/11 Memorial in New York, with its two massive voids marking the Twin Towers' footprints, mirrors the power of absence and the use of scale to evoke awe and remembrance, much like the empty central space of Stonehenge. In the realm of public art, Stonehenge's influence is explicit in works like Stonehenge Aotearoa in New Zealand, a fully functional adaptation intended to link the ancient past and the scientific future. More abstractly, sculptor Richard Long's works, like A Line Made by Walking, simple paths created by the repeated act of walking, evoke Stonehenge's connection to the landscape and to human passage. Part 6. Cultural impact: Stonehenge in modern spiritual and cultural practices. The cultural and spiritual appeal of Stonehenge extends far beyond its original Neolithic builders. The monument has inspired, and continues to inspire, a variety of modern spiritual and cultural practices. Whether through the revival of Druidism or its significance within the New Age movement, Stonehenge remains a vibrant locus of spiritual activity, reflecting a yearning for connection with the past, the landscape, and the cosmos. Druidism, a spiritual practice rooted in the ancient Celtic priesthood, experienced a revival in the 18th and 19th centuries, with Stonehenge playing a central role. The antiquarian William Stukeley, himself a self-proclaimed Druid, was instrumental in linking Stonehenge with the Druids, despite the historical anachronism. This connection was embraced by the emergent Neo-Druid movement, who saw in Stonehenge a tangible link to Britain's ancient, pre-Roman past. The monument soon became a gathering place for these modern Druids. One of the most notable examples is the annual summer solstice celebration. With the sunrise aligning perfectly with the heelstone, modern Druids, adorned in white robes, congregate at Stonehenge to welcome the sun on the longest day, reciting prayers, performing rituals, and connecting with what they perceive as their spiritual ancestry. These practices, which date back to the early 20th century, affirm Stonehenge's enduring role as a sacred site, a place of ritual and communal gathering, and a symbol of spiritual continuity. Beyond Druidism, Stonehenge has become a significant symbol within the broader New Age movement, a diverse array of spiritual practices and beliefs that gained popularity in the late 20th century. With its focus on holistic health, planetary peace, and ancient wisdom, the New Age movement has found in Stonehenge a symbol of ancient knowledge and harmony with nature. Among New Agers, Stonehenge is often regarded as an energy vortex, a place where Earth's ley lines or energy lines converge, enabling healing, spiritual experiences, and connection with the divine. This perception is often linked to the monument's astronomical alignments and the supposed properties of its stones, which are believed to have unique vibrational frequencies. While these beliefs lack scientific validation, they underscore the power of Stonehenge to captivate and inspire, offering a place for modern individuals to connect with ancient traditions, the landscape, and the cosmos. Furthermore, Stonehenge's cultural impact extends into popular media. Whether appearing in films, books, or music, the monument is often used to evoke a sense of mystery, antiquity, and spiritual depth. From its feature in Spinal Tap's mock rock anthem Stonehenge, to its depiction as a portal to another world in science fiction, Stonehenge's cultural impact is extensive and enduring. Part 7: Legal and Ethical Aspects, Preserving and Managing Stonehenge. The legal and ethical stewardship of historical sites like Stonehenge presents a complex matrix of issues, encompassing preservation, access, and respect for cultural heritage. The monument's prominence and cultural significance have led to an evolving framework of regulations and debates that illuminate the challenges inherent in preserving and managing our shared heritage. Since its first legal protection under the Ancient Monuments Protection Act of 1882, Stonehenge's status as a nationally important site has been reinforced through subsequent legislation. The 1979 Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Areas Act brought stricter controls over changes to the monument and its surrounding landscape, while its listing as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1986 brought additional international oversight. However, legal protection has not resolved all challenges. Accessibility is one area of ongoing debate. For years, Stonehenge was freely accessible. However, concerns over erosion, vandalism, and the integrity of the site led to the erection of a fence in 1977, limiting direct access. The tension between public access and preservation remains a difficult balance to strike. While managed access is arranged for religious observances, like the solstice celebrations, and for educational purposes, some argue that the monument should be open for all to experience intimately. The issue of repatriation of artifacts and human remains is another area of significant ethical and legal complexity. The recent Human Tissue Act, 2004, has enabled the potential return of human remains excavated from sites like Stonehenge to claimant communities. For example, the Amesbury Archer, a rich Bronze Age burial found near Stonehenge, could theoretically be claimed by modern descendants for reburial. While no such claims have yet been made, the ethical dilemma of disturbing and displaying human remains persists. Similarly, the question of repatriating artifacts extends beyond the UK's borders. International cases, like the return of the Elgin marbles from the British Museum to Greece, raise the question of whether artifacts taken from the Stonehenge landscape and currently housed in collections around the world should be returned. Another legal and ethical issue is the impact of development on the site and its setting. The proposed tunnel for the A303 road, intended to reduce traffic near Stonehenge and improve the visitor experience, has sparked fierce debate. Critics argue that the construction risks damaging the archaeological landscape and disrupting the site's visual connections with its surroundings. This case highlights the intricate legal and ethical considerations involved in managing heritage sites in a living, changing landscape. Part 8: Impacts of Climate Change, Threats to Stonehenge and Other Archaeological Sites. The climate crisis has begun to manifest itself in multiple ways around the globe, and historical sites like Stonehenge are far from immune. As we move forward into the 21st century, it becomes increasingly clear that climate change poses a substantial risk to our cultural heritage. This chapter will discuss the potential impacts of climate change on Stonehenge and similar archaeological sites, focusing on the threats posed by erosion, flooding, and other environmental hazards. Perhaps the most pressing concern is erosion. Changes in rainfall patterns, including heavier and more frequent rainstorms, can accelerate the natural process of erosion. Increased precipitation leads to greater surface runoff, which gradually wears away at the topsoil. This not only threatens the integrity of the Stonehenge site itself, but also the surrounding archaeological landscape, which contains numerous additional monuments and buried artifacts. This soil degradation, combined with rising temperatures that intensify cycles of freeze-thaw weathering, can destabilize standing stones and other structural elements. Flooding is another imminent threat. While Stonehenge is situated on Salisbury Plain away from large bodies of water, increased rainfall or drastic changes in groundwater levels could still pose a risk. Archaeological sites located near rivers or coastlines face even greater dangers from rising sea levels and storm surges. Such flooding can cause irreparable damage to historical sites, destabilizing structures, washing away artifacts, and leading to the loss of valuable archaeological information. Moreover, climate change can impact the biological elements of archaeological sites. Changes in temperature and precipitation can alter the growth patterns of vegetation, which can in turn impact the integrity of archaeological sites. For instance, longer growing seasons and drier conditions can lead to the proliferation of deep-rooted plants that can disrupt archaeological layers. Similarly, warmer and wetter conditions can facilitate the growth of lichens and microbes that might lead to the biodeterioration of stone monuments. The potential impacts of climate change on archaeological sites like Stonehenge also have indirect consequences. The ability of scientists to continue their research, the enjoyment of visitors, and the spiritual practices of groups like the Druids may all be affected. In the case of Stonehenge, whose very structure is believed to be astronomically aligned, climate change-induced shifts in weather patterns could alter the visual and experiential aspects of these alignments. Part 9: Technology and Future Research, the Next Frontier of Stonehenge Exploration. As we look toward the future, it's clear that advancements in technology hold great promise for uncovering new insights about Stonehenge and its surrounding landscape. The tools of the 21st century, artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, advanced imaging techniques, and more, have the potential to revolutionize the field of archaeology, and Stonehenge stands as a prime candidate for their application. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, for instance, could revolutionize how we analyze the vast amounts of data generated by archaeological studies. For example, pattern recognition algorithms could help us find hidden correlations in spatial data, artifact distributions, or even the alignment and positioning of the stones themselves. This could lead to new theories about Stonehenge's construction, use, or the social organization of the people who built it. Furthermore, machine learning can assist in predictive modeling. By training algorithms on known archaeological sites and their surrounding environments, we may be able to predict where new sites or artifacts might be located in the landscape around Stonehenge. This could guide future excavation efforts or, conversely, help in efforts to conserve unexcavated sites. Advanced imaging techniques such as ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR, and 3D imaging have already proven their worth in archaeological investigations, and their continued development will likely yield even more discoveries. For instance, LiDAR, which uses laser light to measure distances and can create detailed topographical maps, has already revealed new information about the landscape around Stonehenge and could uncover more in the future. 3D imaging and virtual reality technologies could also play a crucial role in both research and public engagement. They allow for precise digital recreations of archaeological sites, which can be studied in detail and from any angle. For the public, these digital models can provide immersive experiences, allowing for virtual tours of the site as it might have looked in different historical periods. Additionally, techniques like portable X-ray fluorescence, PXRF, and isotope analysis have already changed our understanding of where the stones and buried individuals originated. In the future, these techniques might reveal even more about trade routes, dietary practices, and social networks. Finally, the field of bioarchaeology, especially DNA analysis, has already started to provide new insights into the people who built and used Stonehenge. Future advancements could allow us to understand more about their health, lifestyle, and genetic relationships, enriching the human story of Stonehenge. However, with these new technologies come new ethical and practical considerations, from concerns over data privacy to the need for the responsible use of non-invasive techniques to protect the integrity of the site. We've now reached the end of our journey today. Thank you for letting the tales of old be your backdrop, and remember, history isn't just about the past, it's about understanding our present and shaping our future.